Her Coast Guard required crew is a master and a mate and 8 deckhands. There are a lot more people on board today. I'm not sure how many because there are many guests on board. And she's actually owned by a group, Amistad America, who we built the vessel for.
Tell us about the art of building a ship like this, the craftsmanship that goes into this, because it's not something that you just, you know, prefab. It's not a prefab boat that you're putting together.
No, it isn't. We were, perhaps as an organization, very well suited to do this because we've done ship restoration work for many, many years on the museum's watercraft collection, but we hadn't done a vessel from start to finish. So it was all the same steps, but in a little bit different order. So early on, we did the research to determine what the original Amistad was. We knew that she would be because it was being built for a group that was going to have a great deal of public programming, we knew that we needed to have a vessel that could pass Coast Guard inspection and would be able to maintain a schedule. So she's a modern adaptation of the vessel type that the original Amistad was.
A little bit bigger than the original as well.
Yeah, about 10 feet longer. About 10 feet longer on deck. That allowed us to accommodate an engine room and machinery space. The engines, as I mentioned, were required so that she would be able to maintain a schedule. And that enabled us to keep a hold area that would be available for limited exhibitry down below decks.
Where did you get the lumber, the wood to make an old ship? I mean, make a new old ship.
Traditionally at Mystic Seaport for our restoration work, we used the American native species for our restoration work. In this case, we were on a very fast schedule, and some of the pieces that were dictated were larger than we were going to be able to acquire using native lumber. So a significant portion of it was tropical hardwoods, some from the Sierra Leone area of Africa, some from North and South America, and there's also a great deal of American species involved also.
What sort of bumps did you hit? You mentioned just when they were trying to find some of the lumber. Did it go A to Z just like that, or did you have a stop and a start here and there?
Well, I think any big project like this is bound to have, I wouldn't say problems. I don't think we had any problems, but we did our best to anticipate all the situations as they would come. As I mentioned, it was done on a fast track. We signed the contract, and we made it. So we're quite pleased with that.
Ballpark figure? Can you tell me about how much it cost to build it?
In the neighborhood of $3 million for the entire project, including the exhibitry that was developed around it at Mystic Seaport.
Oh, that's really something. Well, we're going to need to introduce Red Shannon again because he can identify and see some of these ships that we're doing. So if we could get Red in position, I'd like to.
Red's over watching the ships.
Yeah. No, we got Red right here, and Red can help us spot some of the ships. So stay put there so we get you reconnected. And meanwhile, Mark, you and I can talk about some of the activity behind us. There's a beautiful wooden classic motorboat going, and darn it, I wish I would have memorized more of these ships better. But we're gonna get Red here who's going to help identify every ship we've got. And
Drew, are you doing exactly what you want to do?
You mean yes, right now to fill the position that lied ahead.
That's quite a skill, and there must be only a handful of people in the world that can still build wooden ships.
There are a few areas where ships are being built. The Constellation was recently redone down in Baltimore. There was a ship built in Delaware. But Mystic Seaport as a museum is really unique in that we have the facilities to be able to maintain our own vessels and the ongoing staff support in the museum.
We brought back with us, thank you for sliding in here for us, Red Shannon, who is the captain of the Sea Cloud, a commercial sailing vessel, and former sailing master of America's tall ship Eagle. Red, help us identify some of these ships. Tell us where they're from and what we're seeing as these ships go by now. This ship here, do you know?
Well, we have the three-masted bark, Sagres, #2 of Portugal. Very interesting career. She was built in 1937 at Blumenwasser, Hamburg, for the German Navy to train German naval cadets. After World War II, she was received by the United States and then was transferred to Brazil. She was called the Guanabara. In the 1960s, Sagres No. 1, which used to be the Ricmas, was becoming quite old for the Portuguese Naval Academy, so the Portuguese bought the Guanabara from Portugal, from Brazil, I should say, and they transferred the ship to the Portuguese Navy, and she proudly sails for the Portuguese Navy training naval cadets.
How is the craftsmanship different or the same amongst all of these tall ships from different countries?
Well, interestingly
Red,
enough,
what's that ship? I'm sorry.
well, let's see, that must be HMS Rose, a replica built in the 1970s.
Back to the craftsmanship, Red. What can you tell me about that?
Well, the ships built years ago, in the 1930s, there were 4 ships built by the German government. They were really finely built as training vessels out of steel, modern construction, and they're still operating today. Eagles, Sagres, Dorschfach No. 1, which is Tavares now, and Mircea of Romania. These 4 vessels are still going strong. They were very, very well built. But even today, the newer vessels are built to very high standards by various national classification societies. So they're built strong and they're built to last.
Tomorrow.
Somebody show up, and if I do, you gotta give me a kiss.
I will. Another one.
I'm so proud to have this opportunity to talk to you because your AIDA is ahead of the country.
It is.
And I'm waiting for it to get on the road. If they got an old part in there, old man part,
Yes.
I'll fly for it.
Anytime. Anytime. Miss Price came inside the other day. She loved it.
Leontine?
She did.
We're distant cousins, but you have to know Leontine from way back.
Oh.
I know her brother very well.
Yeah. Yeah, I met him as
George
well.
Price.
Yes. Yes.
He's managing her now.
Yes. I almost cried when I met her.
You're great folk.
Yes.
Hello.
He's in the world, and we remember with real love Pride of Baltimore 1, and it was a ship that lost many of its crew in a terrible sailing accident.
Right, she was overcome by some heavy weather and she sailed under. But the city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland rallied after that accident and went ahead and constructed Pride
Of the old fireboat station. What ship is that, Captain?
That looks like Gazella Primero of Philadelphia.
That is Gazella. Okay, good. So there are quite a few American tall ships besides the Eagle, and we saw Rose earlier. That's
Yes,
a
sir.
ship from Connecticut. And I know, by the way, too, South Street Seaport from here in New York City has its own tall ship, the Wavertree, which is one of the biggest tall ships. Now, it's not sailing, it's an anchor because it's a historic tall ship that has no engine in it, and they therefore didn't want to, they couldn't maneuver well enough to sail in this parade of ships. But it's down there, and all of the ships are going by and saluting it. And that ship was one of the great, we've got Rennie Stackpole, Rennie from the Penobscot Marine Museum. Tell us about
She was built
about
in
that ship.
1982 in Southampton, which is one of the great ships to carry nitrates from the coast of South America to Europe, and also other general cargoes. So she is...
Excuse me a second, Red, what
Yes.
ship is this that we're looking at?
Yes.
It looks like one of the 3-masted barks from South America. I believe it's the Guayas. Guayas of South America.
Good work. He'll pass every test. I'm sorry, Red, keep going. We were talking about the Wavertree.
Grounders.
Well, she is one of the largest vessels left. Of course, you've got the Peking at South Street Seaport also. But
By the way, this is an Asian ship we're looking at.
Daiwa Maru from Japan.
yes, and she is one of the largest.
By the way, the largest ship in this tall ship celebration here in New York Harbor, 180, is the, I guess largest is a hard way to define. I mean, I guess the longest ship is the 386-foot Sagres. Is it not the Russian?
No, sir, that's the Krusenstern.
Okay, the Krusenstern, okay.
Ex-Padawan,
Okay.
old German ship from the Flying P lines. Right around us.
376 feet, I believe.
Yes.
I saw that up in Newport last week. That's why I know that.
What are we looking at here, Red?
Whoops, now we have to...